Big. Top of the day, beautiful people. Jameer, shalom, shalom, cousin. Shayla G. Hey, girl, hey. Elijah, peace and blessings. Tick for Grand Rising. Auntie Belinda Brown, hey, girl, hey. Anita, greetings. Then that, shalom, shalom. Anybody know daylight saving time being observed? They did away with daylight savings time. Yes, earlier this year. Tabitha, greetings, set apart. Grand Rising, Emo. Yeah, if I remember correctly, they did away with am I right? They did away with daylight saving time, didn't they? I'm almost positive they did. I'm almost positive. Hold on. That boy. Hold on. Y'all hear all that in the background? I'm about to cut his music off. Call his phone. Hey, cut it down. I'm live. It's too loud. I shouldn't be able to hear it that loud down here. Goodbye. Goodbye. Jeremiah. All right, beautiful people. Let's get started. Get this going. Live. There we go. Okay. All right. It was a waste of time, wasn't it? Yeah. But yeah, I think it was approved. I'm gonna have to look it up. I'll look it up if somebody don't put it up before I did. Yeah. Drive safe, Elijah. Drive safe. All right, beautiful people. Father, we thank you that you are new beginnings. And we are beginning Oahspe over again today. I'm super excited. Hold on, let me grab my book. I know some of y'all have probably already started reading or at least listening to the Field Guide to the Spirit World. Look, and that's even one I recommend to the church, right? I recommend all of this to the church, but especially the deliverance ministries. They'd be a whole lot more successful if they really understood some of these things that I guess going into deliverance ministry a little bit, it should be, well, at least now it would seem that it should be common sense, but you still kind of get like spooky interpretations of stuff when you go in to deliver somebody. I've been on a few of these excursions, these delivery excursions. But I wish I had knew then what I know now, right? Okay. All right, y'all. So let's get started. We started on the page after the plates. You got the table of contents, which is page V or 5. Then you have page VII, which is page 7. And then you have page ix. Yeah, 9. Okay. So ix is 9. I was about to say, did it skip a page? No, ix, because 10 is x, ix is 9, xi is 11. Okay. Hold on. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I'm right. Okay. Y'all know me. I'm still trying to get these Roman numerals under control. But we're starting on page 9, or page ix. Matter of fact, if you're online, I think the list of portraits is at the top before the actual contents of the books, where you can click on is highlighted. So they got like the intro, the preface, all of that is above the actual books. So if you dare go all the way to the top, and it should be the first or the second one, right? Okay, so list of portraits. Make sure that's up. Okay. All right, y'all. The portrait reproductions that appear in this text were taken from photographs of the original portraits that had been painted automatically by Dr. Newbro while he was residing at Shalom. All the portraits were destroyed sometime after Shalom was permanently closed. The paintings were originally hung in the Cosmon Church of Shalom. For fuller information than is given below, see index. Now, this kind of answers my question that we had the first time. Going back here, never paid it. Well, clearly I had to get through it first just to kind of pay attention and get to the point where we at researching and finding out about what happened with the disconnect, right? So remember we had some questions about these pictures of who was who. Like, wait a minute. There's a lot of things that verify that some of these people is copper colored. I mean, even his words in here say that these people were copper colored. Why do they still look like they're not copper colored, right? Boom. We understand a little bit why, because remember the shenanigans happened after, like a little bit before, they actually began to create the community of Shalom. Let me read this again. For those of you been here and that's been reading through with us and been looking at these pictures. Listen. And all the recent stuff we just found out, how they was infiltrated by Masons, Freemasons, and all that stuff, right? Listen. The portrait reproductions that appear in this text were taken from photographs of the original portraits that had been painted automatically by Dr. Newborough while he was residing at Shalom. Did I read that right? Portraits that had been painted automatically. Look, and they got automatically in air quotes and the quotations, right? Before and end of automatically, right? Because you was already in Shalom. The actual automatic writing happened before Shalom was even created, right? I'm just saying. Oahspe College University, Shalom, Shalom. There you see him, Shalom, Shebrew. Hey, girl, hey. All right. The portrait reproductions that appear in this text were taken from photographs of the original portraits that had been painted automatically by Dr. Newbro while he was residing at Shalom. All the portraits were destroyed sometime after Shalom was permanently closed. We can see why. They should have been. Based on all that we learned about the Creator allowing things to be destroyed. Yes. Listen. All the portraits were destroyed sometime after Shalom was permanently closed. The paintings were originally hung in the Cosmon Church of Shalom. For fuller information than is given below, see index. Let me just look real quick. I don't know that we looked at the index before. Let me just look up like portraits. Let me see something. Poor man, possessions, poverty, powder. Let me see, Shalom. It don't really say where in here, but Shame, Shalom. Temple. Yeah. Okay. We'll just keep going. because it doesn't say exactly where. And I would just think you will look up like Shalom, anything got to do with the portraits, or look at the portraits throughout here and find it out. I'm past the touch on you on this. What? Oh, maybe you meant to say torch typo. I'm sorry. Hold on. He said, I'm in spirit. I woke up with a dream about this color complexion, with this color complexion thing. Dreadful cause, my peace, love, light, and balance to the righteous gods, nirvana, and goddesses bless up. Okay, that's what I thought you said. Pass the torch. I'm gonna pass the torch to you on this one. I don't know. Like I just be paying attention to the details, and we'll see. Hopefully, we'll get some deeper revelations as we read through the second time. Add some fasting to it this time around. And especially when we get the actual copies of the plates. From New Mexico State University here in a few weeks. Super excited about that, right? Because when we get it, we're gonna be like, if anything is missing, like from what we have, which I'm almost certain it is, I'm gonna work it in. Like we're gonna like say if we in Book of Sathantes, right? And then we get this stuff. I'll finish up the Book of Sathantes. We'll pause right there, and then we're gonna go to the what we got, right? And we're gonna go through that. And then when we get done, we'll come back here, right? And then we'll keep reading and just see how that all pans out. Okay. All right. That's at least what we might do now, unless I figure out how to do it differently. All right. Key, bless up, bless up. Do I have a website? Yep, it's awakeningtruthministry.com. I haven't updated it since I put it up. So it got some of the not older videos, but it doesn't have any of the Oahspe stuff, any of the Oahspe videos. So it's been at least 6 months, at least 171 days. Right? But I gotta go there and I gotta update it and create a whole new page, tab at the top for Oahspe, so I can start adding this stuff in here. But what you'll get there is me waking up from the church and recent videos and some of the more funny titles with some of the stuff that I said, right? So I'll leave some of that up, but I'm gonna update it with all of this. But got a whole lot of stuff going on. So all right. Yeah, I'm definitely, once we get that, all this stuff is gonna be up there, the gallery, all that stuff. Thank you for that. Okay, y'all. Go back to page 9, and we'll start with the name Zarathustra. Fritz, shalom, brother. Okay, Zarathustra, or and in parentheses, it has Zoroaster or Zoroaster. You probably recognize this name by like I think it's pronounced Zoroaster. I have a book. I think it's on my other bookcase with like Zoroaster and something, but I hadn't made the connection until I read Oahspe that it was Zarathustra. I'm like, holy crap. Okay, so Zarathustra or Zoroaster, page 148, erroneously called Zoroaster, a Persian lawgiver who lived in the cycle of Fragapati more than 9,000 years ago, the farthest back of all historical characters. Both Buddhist and Christian religions are said to be made up chiefly from the history and miracles of Zarathustra. It was to obliterate such history that Cotulus, a Christian priest, burned the Alexandrian library in the year 390 AD. 3 Christian monks again burned it in the year 640 AD for the same purpose, but more effectively. Zarathustra was of enormous size and of neither sex, being an ix-xii. P.O., page 265, of Japheth, afterward called China, was also an ix-xii. He was a lawgiver contemporaneous with Abram of Persia, living more than 5,800 years ago, and in the cycle of Spenta Armige. He also taught, like Zarathustra, the doctrine of one great spirit, which doctrine he reestablished in Japheth or China. So since we're starting over, let's run to the glossary real quick and look up the definition of an ix-xii, right? And we'll find this on page 778. It says ISU, it's like literally the middle part of the page, left hand side. ISU, comma, Yeshua, a sexless person, one born without the possibility of sexual passion, also one who has attained that state of mind to be one with all light, such as Brahma, improperly called Iesus. The name Jesus was derived from this term. The Hebraic word hold on. Iesu is spelled Iesu, right? The Hebraic word Ieux was made from Iesu, one who can hear the voice of the Great Spirit. Iu has been improperly confounded with Jehovah. Right, so even if you go, you can see that that's true by even looking through some of the biblical history, Hebrew words and stuff, and how Jesus became Jesus today before it had a J. Right, it'll show you the etymology of that, and it'll give you the correct etymology of it. Right, okay. Go back to page 9, Abram, page 276. And these page numbers is where you find their stories. So if you just wanted to jump right to it and read over their stories, jump to those pages. Abram, page 276, afterward called Abraham, and Ehuan, large and red like new copper, and had black hair and a long beard, fierce to look upon, but he was a gentle soul. He was a Persian and the founder of the ancient Hebrews or Israelites, and it's spelled Israelites, but here is spelled with a Z, is IZ apostrophe ZERLITES, Israelites. Also the founder of Migration for Religion's Sake. He took his followers into Egypt. The first time it's spelled EGUPT, and then you have it in the parentheses, EGYPT. Next is Brahma, page 290, an East Indian lawgiver contemporaneous with Poe and Abram. He was a large man of great strength and ranked the highest spiritually of all mortals. He reestablished the Zarathustrian religion in India, being that there is only one creator, right? You say some of these names today, people who are ignorant of these things think is going to a whole other religion where they're actually worshiping these people. And that's what happened. They idolize the people who were trying to teach you about the one creator, and they themselves don't worship themselves, neither do they declare themselves to be God. They say there is only one. To him is who you should give all of your allegiance. Turn back to him, right? But after they die, they idolize them, right? And then they become the God, something that they were frowned upon if they were still living, right? They themselves will tell you, do not do this. This is what you call blasphemy against the creator. Okay. Utiv, fairest of women, wife of Brahma. And you can find her story clearly in there with that of Brahma. Iwata or Hiawatha, page 310, a North American contemporaneous with Poe, Abram, and Brahma. He was taller than any other man with a bright shining face of copper. He reestablished among the he established among the North Americans of his time the worship of the Great Spirit, which is here North America. North America. That's what Iwata, right? Was that? He established among the North Americans of his time the worship of the Great Spirit, and his doctrines are still held by many of the tribes of native North Americans who refuse to accept any other God or Savior. Iwata established the United States of America of the native North Americans called Opa Igoquim or Algonquin. The model of his independent nations, united in one, was that which was adopted in the formation of the present United States of America. Thothma or Hojax, page 375, the builder of the Great Pyramid in Egypt and one of the greatest adepts that ever lived. He could hear the gods and talk with them understandingly, and could cast himself in the death trance and go spiritually into the lower heavens and return at will. He was under the inspiration of the false god Osiris through his great angel servant gods, Baal and Egypt. He labored to establish immortality in the flesh, that is, to make the mortal body incorruptible so that it would never die. But with all the forces of his will and by his great learning, he could not stay the withering of the flesh, and he died on the day he was 100 years old. And we can see how Thothmo was terribly deceived by the false gods, right? Thinking that he would, if y'all see the first time y'all read this story, it was funny, but it wasn't funny. It was really sad wake up wake up or to be born into true life and realize all them voices that you had been hearing were lies, right? And now you now have become a slave in a false god's kingdom, or you trapped in Hada for a period of time, right? Kapilia, page 389, of India and Isu, living more than 3,400 years ago in the cycle of Lika, a lawgiver who restored the believers in one great spirit to hold property and to have the same rights as the worshippers of gods and lords. He was to India very similar what Moses was to the ancient Jews. As Moses was a foster child of the king of Egypt, so was Kapilia a foster child of the king of India, both receiving a profound education. Moses, page 420, an Egyptian lawgiver. He was contemporaneous with Kapilia of India and Chine of China, living more than 2,400 years after Abram, 3,400 BK, or BK stands for before Cosmon, or before the Cosmon era, right? And we're in the Cosmon era now. So it's 3,400 years before our era began, which began, I believe it was 1881. Moses was a large man, a pure Ehuan, copper colored, and of great strength, educated as a prince by his foster father Pharaoh, king of Egypt and master of many languages. He rebuilt what had been lost since Abram's time and also taught the Zarathustrian doctrine of one great spirit. Moses taught the true Moses, right? Because remember, we found out while reading Moses' story the first time that there were lies told about Moses. And he even questioned it. He said, well, what about the lies that are going to be told about me, or that are being told about me, about what I really did and about who I truly am? The creator was like, don't worry about that. We're going to shake that out. And it's being shaken out here in our era. We're like, what? So we're putting all these missing pieces of Moses together. It was like, holy crap. Now it makes sense, right? Because they added words into Moses' mouth. Said Moses allowed them to do some stuff that Moses never uttered. He never uttered from his mouth, right? Angela, shalom. Nene, shalom, sis. Okay. He rebuilt what had been lost since Abram's time and also taught the Zarathustrian doctrine of one great spirit, whom they worshiped secretly under the name Jehovah. But in public worship and to avoid persecution, they called him God or Lord. The name Jehovah was maintained by Moses as too sacred to be spoken, save in whisper with mouth to ear. He taught that the angels who ministered unto mortal nations and empires were titled God or Lord. Chine, page 445. A lawgiver contemporaneous with Kapilia and Moses. He was an Ayasu, and like Moses, he was of copper color and very large, but his hair was red like a fox. He was the founder of China and restored the rights of believers in Jehovah throughout that great country. Some of his miracles have never been excelled. And so we also find out by reading through here, especially what we know about China today, some of the things that they post on social media and the news and everything, why they say the church is going underground, because China was really trying to return to the worship of the one great spirit. And they should be driving the church underground. And I know that sounds like blasphemy to lovers of Jesus and those that worship him as God, right? But as we read through here and we get a little bit more detail other than the propaganda that our great states provide to us, right? Or indoctrinate us with, we began to be able to read between the lines, and some of those missing pieces we began to find and put them together to see the overall of what's truly happening, right? Sakaya, page 604, sometimes erroneously called Buddha. He lived more than 2,500 years ago and was an East Indian by birth, holding to the doctrines of one great spirit only. He was of sub-cycle rank. The term Buddha was wrongly attached to him by his followers over 1,000 years after his death. Right? They made this man an idol too. After he died, they still worshiping him. Going to Chinese places and you can see a fat Buddha sitting on the counter everywhere. Sometimes by the door and they offering food to him daily. I don't know why, but like, if you don't get this crap up from away from this door. Sakaya, page 604. Sometimes erroneously called Buddha. He lived more than 2,500 years ago and was an East Indian by birth, holding the doctrines of one great spirit only. He was of sub-cycle rank. The term Buddha was wrongly attached to him by his followers over 1,000 years after his death. He did not encourage God or Lord worship. He taught that man's highest attainment was to live for the sake of others and not for one's self. He established convents, nunneries, and monasteries in many places in India. Caillou, page 610, erroneously called Confucius, an ix-xii, a lawgiver of sub-cycle rank in China, living more than 2,500 years ago. He was one of the most learned men that had ever lived and has still today a substantial number of followers in China. He taught the doctrine of one great spirit and to worship him only. He abridged 18,000 books of the ancients, taking the cream of all of them and condensed them into about 20 books. Kind of what Constantine did, right? When bringing together the Holy Bible, he literally took what he thought to be the cream of the crop from all of these religions. That's why Christianity is like this big melting pot, because they pull stuff from everywhere and just plop, there you go. But Constantine thought he was doing what was good, right? Because he went to every religion. Let's find the best practices, the highest light from this religion, because let's just practice the highest light all over the world. We can all just worship together. That was Constantine's thinking, right? And we find that out because they go over Constantine and what he did. And you can go back, you can check through the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, all of that, and just kind of look into this stuff and further verify it, right? There are some things that you won't see that was already written that you can, well, how should I say that? You can just you can corroborate the history, right? What you find out with all these missing pieces. And even by looking at what's happening today, you can see the outcome of what they did, and some things you can know to be the truth just because of the results that it got, right? Hold on. Joshua, page 624. Like Caillou and Sakaya, he was a lawgiver of sub-cycle rank. He was of Jewish birth and also an ix-xii, born near Jerusalem more than 2,000 years ago. His predecessors were of the tribe called Essenes, or non-resistance. He labored to bring Jews back to their pristine purity. He was a severe preacher, denounced by the people as a blasphemer, and was stoned to death in Jerusalem. Christianity calls him Jesus. Remember the etymology of the whole ix-xii thing? They change a lot about his life. And the story that we get is after all the changes, right? They call him Jesus. He was a real person. Remember, we went through that whole, was this even a real person while we're trying to figure all this out? He was a real person. He been toyed with a whole lot in the Bible, right? So coming back here, you can get the, not only you solve the issue of the J, well, it won't no J, and people, that's a lower light understanding, right? Keep on going. Understand what an ix-xii is, and then you can look and see what they did and made him into this other person and created other things. Even his death, they got wrong, right? Not, they don't even say they get it wrong. They created another way that he died. They hung him on the Oahspe, right, or the cross, right, or the prophet's wheel, right? They hung him on the prophet's wheel, the cross. You just don't see the circle around it. But he was actually the real Joshua. The real person was actually stoned to death. Let me read it again. Like Caillou and Zacchaeus, he was a lawgiver of sub-cycle rank. He was of Jewish birth and also an Ix-xii, born near Jerusalem more than 2,000 years ago. His predecessors were of the tribe called Essenes, or non-resistance. He labored to bring the Jews back to their pristine purity. He was a severe preacher, denounced by the people as a blasphemer, and was stoned to death in Jerusalem. He also taught the doctrine of the Great Spirit only. It had been supposed that the so-called Sermon on the Mount that appears in the Christian New Testament, was a plagiarism of Joshua's teachings appropriated by the first ecumenical, I messed this word up the first time, ecumenical council under the direction of the Emperor Constantine. Right? And just kind of gave you like a little bit of history about Constantine. All right, the preface. Well, yeah, 30 minutes. Okay. So we're going to read the preface and then we're going to pause, right? And then we're going to open up the field guide to the spirit world. You know what? Hold on. Introduction, editor's notes. Because it's Sunday, right? We can the introduction gone. It's not that long, but me reading it, it's gonna take a little longer. So we're gonna pause after the preface. I'm gonna get my bookmarks from all the way in the back of the book. Bring them back to the front. Hold on. I love that this has 2 bookmarks. Okay. Let me just kind of stick this. Put this one. Hold on. We'll stick this one here. The voice of man. Okay. All right. Preface. Hold on. Okay. I thought one of the babies had one out there, and I thought Jeremiah was in his room making music. He's out in the garage working out. Okay. Okay. Page 11 or page XI. Is Oahspe true? Does it have a message of value? Whether you are a theistic, mystic, deist, agnostic, atheist, or anything in between, if you believe nothing else, you at least must believe that you are blessed with intelligence and the ability to reason. Granting at least that, then let no one else do your thinking for you. Hey, calm down, y'all. Hannah, shalom. Prince, shalom, shalom. Hold on. Y'all got y'all highlighters. Highlight that portion where it says, then let no one else do your thinking for you. All right. And that's the whole point of reading through here. Well, let's just finish reading this and listen to the comments that he makes. Yes, baby. I see. Don't put your fingers in there. Whether you are a theist, mystic, deist, agnostic, atheist, or anything in between, if you believe nothing else, you at least must believe that you are blessed with intelligence and the ability to reason. Granting at least that, then let no one else do your thinking for you. Do not let anyone else's opinion of whether Oahspe is true or not true influence your judgment. Do not let other people, regardless of their credentials, preempt your freedom to think and decide for yourself. Do yourself the favor of reading the book from beginning to end in its entirety and without skipping from place to place, which can cause misunderstandings, right? We sometimes are known for that. Just give me the good stuff. They talk about Jesus over there and give me the pages for Jesus, right? Yeah, it does, but you probably shouldn't skip, right? And we can see that happening with the unauthorized cherry pickers because that's what they do. They skipping around to pull out stuff to argue against it instead of doing their due diligence as a true researcher and reading the information all the way through to make sure it's kept within its appropriate context, right? And anybody that's read it through and you listen to somebody that hasn't, they're trying to they try to pull one over on you, you can look at you ain't really ready to have it. You haven't read it, have it. You did some skipping around, didn't you? Do yourself the favor of reading the book from beginning to end in its entirety and without skipping from place to place, which can cause misunderstandings. Then, if it speaks truth to your inner being, if it reinforces your values of love and service to others, if it offers an expansive view of the universe that is refreshingly uplifting and portrays a destiny set in motion by our Creator, that to your mind is more logical, rational, and fair than what you have been exposed to in the past, then embrace it as a guide and a foundation for your own future growth. And that is, we found that to be true. By going in here, I had just heard about Oahspe. Remember how we got started reading this? Somebody mentioned it, Sahel, right? He mentioned this and he had to say it like 3 times before. I was like, oh, you know what? It's a fun looking word. It's fun to say. Oh, why? I was like, I speak. What? How you say it? Oh, I speak. Oh, I speak. Right? Listen. If you find that it does not speak to your condition, then all you have lost is some time well spent in search for the truth. And we know if you're consistent with reading it on a daily basis and taking one day off for the Sabbath, you can get through it just like we did in 170 days. Exactly. Right? If you read the amount of pages that we read, and you can divide that, and that's 6 months just shot, you can say 6 months, right? 6 months, because if you add the Sabbaths in, it would put us over the 170 days, right? All you have lost is some time well spent in search for the truth, which averages to about 5 pages a day, right?
You got some beautiful children and bad grandbabies.
Thank you, son. Let me go back.
Huh?
Hold on. No, I was talking to them. All right.
Is it 10 minutes or 5 minutes?
I don't know. Then,
Huh?
what?
My bad, I was just asking. Do I meditate for like 10 minutes or 5 minutes?
That's your choice. How long do you want to meditate? Then, if it speaks truth to your inner being, if it reinforces your values of love and service to others, if it offers an expansive view of the universe that is refreshingly uplifting and portrays a destiny set in motion by our Creator that to your mind is more logical, rational, and fair than what you have been exposed to in the past, then embrace it as a guide and a foundation for your own future growth. If you find that it does not speak to your condition, then all you have lost is some time well spent in search for the truth. We assure you that in no way will you be personally diminished by your efforts, for within all experience will be found the seeds of growth. The quest for knowledge should be an unending endeavor. And I guess I should have asked everybody. I told y'all about my experience and what I found reading through the first time, but y'all put in the chat those who've been here and have read it. Have you found that it's helped you in your spiritual walk and understanding things, or did you find that it didn't do anything for you? Like you didn't profit either way, right? You didn't gain any, you didn't lose any. And those, if you think you actually lost time, it was a complete waste of your time, be honest. What did you get from reading it? All right. Put it in there. I'll read y'all comments later. What you have before you is the second edition of Oahspe. There were two. The first was published in 1882, and the second, slightly re edited version in 1891. We have compared both editions word for word, and we offer our humble assurance that the differences between the two are negligible and in no way alter the overall message or narration of the text. Now, we know that this first edition in 1881 is not actually the first edition. The first edition, straight without any kind of changes is the John Lamp plates, which we're going to go get, right? We're going to get copies of, which is being held in New Mexico State University archives, right? That's the original before John Newborough made changes and added things and took things away by the talking in his ear of his Freemason buddies, right? So what we actually get, the printing that they call the first, is actually the second. The second is actually the third, right? While there is some debate as to how the editing for the second edition was conducted, we find the point to be inconsequential since most changes relate to type, typo, type, typographical, did I say that right? Typographical errors, grammar, or aesthetic considerations that are, in the final analysis, of little consequence. These minor differences, which are annotated throughout the book in the footnotes, should be no cause for concern because the big picture is all that matters. Oahspe, even in its own words, was never intended to be a perfect book, to be quoted chapter and verse as a substitute for personal discernment or with the stroke of finality to establish a sect or dictate a creed. And this is what some people don't really understand, right? Oahspe was given to actually give a deeper history and to untangle some things that had been tangled up throughout the years. Or people say, oh, this is a brand new religious book, completely replaces the Bible. I don't really think so. I think it brings clarity to the Bible, who's actually speaking in the Bible, so people aren't following false gods, which they're absolutely doing in the Bible. Those who think that they're actually following the Creator and hearing the voice of the Creator are ignorant that they are not. That's what Oahspe came to bring light to in history of the world and how it progressed, the cycles of man, even how the earth develops in its cycles from birth all the way to the ending where, it it's where it's no more, right? This what this brings clarity to. But people like, at least in my understanding and my reading through it and doing the research for the last 6 months, Oahspe, even in its own words, was never intended to be a perfect book to be quoted chapter and verse as a substitute for personal discernment or with a stroke of finality to establish a sect or dictate a creed. If you are seeking such a book, you have come to the wrong place. Oahspe reaffirms the truths. Oahspe reaffirms the truth that predated all religions, sects, or creeds. Sects, sects, sects. I know sometimes it may sound wrong the way I pronounce it. Oahspe directs us toward the all light, the inner light, the I am, that one source within for our ultimate guidance. Oahspe is offered as a textbook of sorts, one guiding light to help on that path. While the physical distance between one's self and one's inner soul is very short, yet the journey we need to follow to reach that inner source within our souls is a very long one. Listen for that voice within your own being for your ultimate guidance rather than seeking it within the covers of this or any other book. Without apology, this is the overriding message offered by this most unusual book, the Lois Incorporated 2016. All right, y'all. So this is where we're gonna pause at for today for this. We're about to get into the field guide. Okay, so let's read what y'all said about if it helped y'all or not before we go on. All right. So I just asked if you're just coming in. Global Purpose. Hey, girl. Hey. I shared with the first read and how it's helped enlighten me over these last 6 months and bring clarity to a lot of things I had already learned from the Bible, spiritually applying it to my life. I realized a lot of questions that I was still having, even though I came out of the indoctrination of the church. This helped bring clarity to a lot of stuff, even the titles and stuff that we see in the Bible, but it doesn't really give definitions and explanation for a lot of these things. But once you get those definitions and then go back and read the Bible again, it's clear, it's laid out bare, and it's like you see a whole new story taking place that actually makes sense, right? This gives a lot of missing pieces. Okay. Yes. All right. So Global Purpose said, yes, it opened my eyes. Jamia said, it's definitely assisting me in my spiritual walk. Vinette said, it has been a great blessing. I've learned so much. Set Apart Living said, oh, it jumped. Hold on. Somebody must add another comment. Jump. It was very uplifting and revealing about things hidden. Kendrick said, yes, it has helped me tremendously, a true blessing. It has answered many questions that no pastor has ever been able to answer or explain. Tikva said, beneficial and enlightening. Ever so grateful for all you have given to helping me through this journey. The Oahspe has and is bringing me closer to our Creator and has lifted the God spell. Amen, right? Set Apart said, also for me, it answered a whole lot of questions. Shebrew said, yes. Mom, hey girl, hey, shalom, shalom. Shebrew said, it answered all my questions and questions I didn't know I had. All praises to the Creator. Great Spirit, shalom, brethren. They over in the UK. Peace, love, and light through our Creator Jehovah. Hold on. And Shebrew said, and all hate. Hold on. Let me go back. She said, it answered all my questions and questions I didn't know I had, and all hate. And all hate. I'm assuming based on like conversation and different things you said, it's helping to like eradicate the hate like that the Bible teaches you. Because the Bible, if you're not aware of what you're being taught, it's kind of, ooh, are you sure the Creator said doing this? Okay. Tabitha, remember, Keon Cooper is Tabitha, y'all. She using her son account. She said, for me, it was a great moment connecting with others who study Oahspe like myself. Also, I gained further overstanding from Sister Pam and the chat room. So thanks to all. And if I remember correctly, it's Tabitha's church that actually, as a whole, teaches and goes through Oahspe, right? I was like, that's amazing. You actually got a church that's actually doing that? And she's in Trinidad. Prince, shalom, shalom, nephew. She would say, yes, at first your journey is lonely due to the world being led by the Bible. Oh, the Bible. I like how you spell that. The Bible. BYE-BULL, the Bible. Hannah said, it has been a blessing and has taught me about many questions that I had and didn't know how or who to ask. And Tikva said, it gave me a new family full of brothers and sisters I never had. I know, right? I love you guys. All right, y'all. So thank y'all for that. Thank y'all. I think I'm a copy and paste if y'all don't mind. If y'all don't want me to copy and paste y'all stuff in like the community section on Facebook, then tell me, don't add my comment. I think I'm gonna share it. I think it might be helpful for those that are coming and seeing and shucks, I might even see, I still don't know how to do it yet. I might even kind of cut the little clip out from here and just paste it so people can see who's looking for it, just kind of looking for different insight before they actually get started. Okay. All right, y'all. So pull out Miss Susan B. Martinez's book. She gave us authorization to, she said, you can read any of my books anytime, right? She authorized us to read this because I didn't want to violate any copyrights or anything like that, right? Okay. So Field Guide to the Spirit World, the Science of Angel Power, Discarnate Entities, and Demonic Possession. Susan B. Martinez, PhD, forward by Whitley Stryber. And just in case you didn't know, if you haven't been here for any of this, Susan B. Martinez, this sister is a true faithist indeed. She has a whole library on her study of not just Oahspe, but even spiritual insight that she's had with supernatural things and doing some investigations with a lot of stuff like questions that we had, like supernatural stuff that be happening to us, right? She gives Oahspe talks about it, but she goes like a step further, giving insight into a lot of those things, giving real time, real life examples from our time, things that we know we've heard about on the news and what's happening behind the scenes, right? So it's like it's like when you read about this, then you got like a quiz time, or you will run into an incident to where you have the ability or the opportunity, shall I say, to apply the knowledge that you've learned, right? Okay, so let me read the back of this again, the back cover, right? And if you don't have it, you can get it from Amazon. I ain't got no special link. Just type in this and it'll pop up and you can purchase from there. That's what I did, right? Listen, and I'm not making any kind of money off of any of these extra books that we bring in. Is strictly for our spiritual growth, right? And I give y'all the same link I get, or I just tell you go type it in Amazon. I give you the type, or go look it up, get it. This is the version, whatever, right? Okay. And on the back of this, it's funny because they have occult. And I found out that occult, I found this out even before I came across Oahspe. Occult simply means hidden, right? But when the church teaches you about occult, they put spooky connotations and scary things on top of it to keep you away from the information. And once I got enough um strength or kicked a little bit of my fear out the door, I was able to go check into some of those things because they were calling to me. And I was praying and hoping that it wasn't Satan calling out to me, trying to get me off, right? I'm like, Father, before I even started getting some of this stuff, I was like, well, I know I'm gonna hear clearly if I fast. So I would add in like a couple days fasting before I go do certain stuff. Cause I was like, Father, I really don't want to get off. I said, I done spent too long in Christianity being led astray. I ain't come out of there just to get trapped into something else. Right. So I did what I know to. I just fasted for a couple days or whatever, so I could make sure I could hear clearly, right? And come to find out, a lot of the stuff that they got labeled occult is things that they truly want to hide from you, because these are the things that'll really set you free and help you understand, especially about spiritual things. Because even though the church teaches about spiritual things, it's just like it's always the same kindergarten, preschool type stuff. Like, is that it? That's all it is, just Satan. That's it. That's the best. Like, but this like gives you like, okay, before Satan even gets involved, let me show you what happens, how you even open a door, right? That's what you'll find over here, right? So don't let that on the back or even let the word occult throw you off, right? Trust me. I ain't gonna say just trust me like blindly, but check into some of the things I'm saying, right? Yes, baby. You want to eat it? Hold on. Where daddy? Daddy still asleep? This like super soft. Hold on. Let me put this on. Hold on, y'all. Let me get her this. Here. Want to get up here on the chair? Mm-hmm. Right here. I'm gonna eat this banana, y'all. Hold on. Here. Banana. There you go. Banana. Yes. Uh-oh. There you go. All right, y'all. Okay. So on the back, a very helpful book that will guide you to open your spiritual vision to protect yourself from and benefit from the entities that inhabit the spirit world. And that little comment was made by Robert R. Harmonious, PhD, co-author of The Secret Life of Lady Liberty, Goddess in the New World, and co-host of 21st Century Radio. We are spirits housed in a body, and just as houses can be haunted, so can people. What's crazy is if y'all go back earlier this year when right before we first started reading on Oahspe, that video where I was freaking out, it's called Julian Spirits. It's crazy because I didn't realize that experience was helping prepare me of what I would be learning in Oahspe. Like I knew we're spirits that live in bodies, but I actually had the experience where there was a clear definition between my spirit and my body as I found myself in the out of body state and couldn't wake my body up. And my husband and my son Josiah was sitting there at the foot of the bed having a conversation, and I'm screaming, trying to get their attention. It was like I was encased in a tomb, right? And I was freaking out till I really understood many weeks later what was happening to me. And it was really beneficial for my growth, right? Because it just helped me understand a whole lot. Yes, her book also on Bella. Turn it down. I'm not sure that her book is in not necessarily in PDF. Hold on. Alone right Hold on. Now. What are you doing? Baby. Trying to protect your girlfriend? All right, turn it back upstairs. It is in Kindle. If you go on Amazon, It's on Audible, hard paperback version, as well as Kindle, which is can be considered a PDF, but you can't just like pull it from Google, like give me the PDF version. You actually have to purchase the Kindle version in your reader. But it's there. Yeah. So yeah. Christianity leads brothers and sisters to believe anything to do with spirits is demonic. They do. This brings clarity and it teaches you the best thing that I've learned from Oahspe. It sharpens your discernment, not just the spiritual world, but also with discerning truth and error here in the flesh, right? In this corporal world, right? Yeah. Angela Oahspe validated my disinterest in religion. Yeah. Okay. We are spirits housed in a body, and just as houses can be haunted, so can people. When the living succumb to dissociative states of consciousness, they become a magnet for lost but clinging spirits, known as jinn, dibuk, daemon, wakwabi, or simply the undead, or what Christianity likes to call them, demons, right? They hover unseen on the earth plane, ready to inhabit the most suitable body available. Documenting the life of wandering spirits and their impact on vulnerable human targets, Susan Martinez offers a radical departure from the standard psychological. That's trash, boo. Hold on. Documenting the life of wandering spirits and their impact on vulnerable human targets, Susan Martinez offers a radical departure from the standard psychological explanations for a host of pathological behaviors, including multiple personality, autism, epilepsy, migraines, obsessive compulsive disorder, depression, schizophrenia, anxiety, PTSD, self destructive urges, and strange outbursts, and reveals that hallucinations are often true impressions of spirit input as well as reincarnation. There's a whole chapter dedicated to reincarnation. Little girl, hey. It's a whole chapter dedicated to reincarnation and just goes into further detail in what Oahspe teaches us that really is. It's not a reincarnation when you come back and live multiple lives. That means your spirit, your native spirit, the real you have been put in abeyance and another spirit is taking over your body. That's what they call reincarnation. They get a fresh new body to operate in. And then when this body dies, they just hop to another body. Just like the movie Fallen, the spirit hopping from body to body. That's what true reincarnation is, which is why people who are put in abeyance, their spirit is put in abeyance, they begin to talk about their past lives, and with accuracy, if you go back and do some research on these people that they say that they were in past lives, you can find it, and it's true. Right? But it's not reincarnation as they teach you, like that was one of your past lives. No, there's a spirit that is inhabiting your body alongside you, and it could be multiple, it could be legions, just depending on what you got into and how open you left yourself. That's who's talking using your faculties, your body, your looks, your voice. And people are fooled thinking that is you. That's why I love Oahspe in regards where it helps you to discern truth between truth and error, and how to decipher who is speaking through a person, right? This needs not only this and this, all of this need to be in deliverance ministry for the Christian church. And it might be a little bit more effective. You get people that say that they deliver. No, they didn't fake you out, and they didn't just switch to a more quiet altar spirit that's really been studying you for a very long time, can act just like you, but they ain't delivered. They is not delivered. There's a bunch of them still in there. The other ones just fell back a little bit. Oh shoot, we about to lose our home. Y'all better like y'all got some sense. Where Patty at? Patty, get on up here. You know how she really at for real. Get up here. Patty, you need to lead this for a little while. Because they ain't trying to lose their home. They ain't trying to be kicked out of their house. Yahweh Shalom. Look. Okay. Martinez explains how mental health comes down to the delicate balance between self-control and spirit control. When trauma triggers an escape response, the soul takes flight, leaving the mind susceptible to possession and discarnate entities. That chapter is really, really good. Really, really good because it helped me um, locate. I mentioned a couple times what happened to somebody that I know and love, right? And putting these things together, trauma can also you can choose to put your own self like in that sunken place. And if spirits are around that finds that you are like a prime target for them because you decided to draw yourself within because of your traumas, they become prime targets for um our brethren and sister and who no longer have their physical bodies, ones who died. And they could be the recently dead, right? And they could have been dead many, many years ago, hundreds of years ago, right? But they're still lingering around here on the earth because they haven't yet continued to grow and lifted from this first resurrection. When trauma triggers an escape response, the soul takes flight, leaving the mind susceptible to possession by discarnate entities. However, the spirit world can also bestow gifts upon those whose psyches are open, such as in the case of mediums, shamans, people who communicate with angels, and many of the world's creative geniuses. Martinez presents overshadowing by the spirits as a universal cross-cultural phenomenon, documenting modern and traditional accounts as well as corroborating indigenous beliefs. She examines soul decay, soul travel both before and after death, as well as how knowledge of the spirit world can offer positive treatments for disorders like schizophrenia and autism. Providing a detailed guide to the spirit world and its inhabitants, the author offers checklists of symptoms of overshadowing methods from the world's top exorcists and instructions on how to free spirits so they can continue their journey into the beyond. All the tools necessary to forearm us against soul snatchers and other enemies of the light, right? Spirits that do this can be considered enemies of the light, right? Okay, so let's open it up. First page. Spendy love. Shalom, shalom. Okay. Yeah, this is the book. I'll post it again. It's in the community section, but I posted again. We already got done with today's reading of Oahspe. This time around, we're going to half the time we're here, we're going to read Oahspe, and then the second half we're bringing in other resources and materials that helps us further understand some of what we read in Oahspe, and real life, real time experiences and stuff, right? So it's like this is like the lab part of class, what I like to call lab part of class. Page 1. Field Guide to the Spirit World. The depth and quality of research exemplified by Susan B. Martinez, PhD, in her previous books are evident again in Field Guide to the Spirit World. The spirit world is all around us all the time, and this very helpful book provides a key to the spiritual world and a guide to working with it for the treatment of mental disorders caused by overshadowing. As Whitley Strieber says in his foreword, step out of the prison of materialism in order to see such experiences in ways that might deepen our understanding of ourselves and the amazing universe, as Strieber demonstrates when he talks about the loss of his wife and how that opened his spiritual vision. Robert R. Hieronymus, PhD, co-author of The Secret Life of Lady Liberty, Goddess in the New World, and co-host of 21st Century Radio. From all accounts, the world beyond the veil is a labyrinth chock full of entities, both good and ill. With her new book, Field Guide to the Spirit World, The Science of Angel Power, Discarnate Entities, and Demonic Possession, Susan B. Martinez has contributed an important work that helps to demystify the other side. It warrants an important place on your 14 bookshelf, and more importantly, in your hands as you read and learn. Jim Harrell, host of the Paranormal Podcast. Okay. To Joan Greer, aka Gypsy, beautiful and beloved daughter of Jehovah. All right, we got the table of contents, the first of which is the foreword by Whitley Strieber. Then you have the introduction, which is entitled The Final Bound. Chapter 1 is Spirit at Large. Chapter 2 is Flight of the Soul. Chapter 3 is The Black Dog Unleashed. Chapter 4 is soul murder. Chapter 5 is entitled I Shall Walk in the Sky. Chapter 6 is the unseen guest. Chapter 7, countless mental vagaries. Chapter 8, the overshadowing. Chapter 9, possession. Chapter 10, the reincarnation hoax. Chapter 11, freeing the ghost. And that is the last chapter. It's 11 chapters. Then you have 3 appendixes, which are labeled A, B, and C. Appendix A is corporal Layla, or like the corporal world, corporal Layla. I'm probably saying that wrong. Appendix B is exposure to death, and Appendix C is trauma. Then you have the bibliography and the index, right? Okay, so let's start with the foreword. Foreword by Whitley Strieber. The near death experience, the UFO abductee, the out of body traveler, the medium, the psychic. Who are these people and their unusual perceptions of the world around them? And I'm sorry, who are these people and are their unusual perceptions of the world around them somehow linked? In this powerful book, Susan Martinez sets out to explore the soul from the standpoint of a new scientific vision that discards the materialist assumptions that have so far limited the willingness of professionals in the field to address unusual phenomena without those assumptions. As an out of body traveler and UFO witness who was married to a woman who had a life changing near death experience, I am well acquainted with the strange unwillingness, or is it inability, of scientists to approach these phenomena in a way that might actually advance knowledge. Because a lot of times they don't want to deal with it, and they're not they want to keep things like church and state separate. They don't want to mingle all of this. They want to be able to keep their thumbs on everything without really addressing what's happening spiritually. So what they'll do, they'll just give you drugs to medicate you and shut you up. We don't want to deal with that. Put them over there in the corner. Just build something, put them over there. We That's messing up the flow of life for us. When in reality they're experiencing the flow of life. There are a lot of people who experience the spiritual side more than the physical side, and there should be those of us who are developed on both areas. Matter of fact, we should be developed from the time we come from the womb, equally balanced, being taught about not just about the physical life. All they teach us is physical, but we should be getting an even balance of spiritual as well. Like, we should know these things growing up to where they won't become these big problems when you get here. Now you got to have mental institutions because nobody wanted to train the spiritual side of us, right? I must say what I think, that spirit itself is on Susan's side. Let me tell you why. In April of 2016, I was attending a conference at the Institute of Noetic Sciences in Petaluma, California, when I had an extremely unusual experience. Every night of my life, I meditate at 11 and again at 3. This is trying, of course, but I have compelling reasons to do it, involving contact with my deceased wife, but we will get into that shortly. On that night, I was exhausted from a long day of travel and participation in the conference. Nevertheless, I woke myself up at 3 and did the meditation. Then I fell back into bed. An hour later, a terrific shock went down my spine. I sat up in bed, startled, wide awake. I said to myself and to whomever I meditate with, I've already meditated, don't wake me up again. But I sat and meditated for another 10 minutes anyway, then fell into the bed. An instant later, I found myself in the corridor of the small dormitory in which I was housed. I was astonished. How had this happened? My door was closed. Was I now locked out until morning? Then I realized that I was once again out of my body. I had been in this state a number of times before, and previously on occasion had enabled people to see me. I thought to myself that I should try to make myself seen at this conference of scientists and professors. I was here to upset the paradigm after all. And as I cannot leave my body on my own, I've tried for years. Somebody had done this to me, and my guess was that it was to challenge the very paradigm that Susan so brilliantly upsets in the following pages. I went through the wall into the conference leader's room, but he was absolutely asleep. I have no idea how a bodiless person might awaken somebody who is asleep. So I then went from room to room until I found a conferee who had his eyes open. I went beside his bed and looked down at him. He reacted with a surprise that I was in his room. I thought, am I out of body or not? He didn't seem to think so. We spoke together for a few minutes. I was able to see his life hopes and fears almost as if they were somehow written on his face, carved into his expression, as it were. Then I abruptly shot upward, completely out of control, until I was so high that I could see the curvature of the earth and the line of dawn far to the east. I was shocked to my core. Compared to this, my previous OBE is an acronym for out of body experience, right? And this is not far fetched to those of us who have this happen to us all the time, right? Some people call it astral projection. We call it out of body experiences. Paul from the Bible, he said, I didn't know whether I was in the body or out of the body. Maybe it was a vision. Then I abruptly shot upward, completely out of control, until I was so high that I could see the curvature of the earth and the line of dawn far to the east. I was shocked to my core. Compared to this, my previous OBE child's play. I then shot downward and eastward, finding myself on what appeared to be a college campus. The sun was either rising or setting. I could not tell which, but it had been about 4:15 a.m. in Petaluma. Therefore, I assumed that I was in the eastern United States and it must be 7:15 a.m. I moved about on the campus, trying to unsuccessfully show myself to a young man I was walking along a sidewalk. Then I went into a building which proved to be a dormitory. I went down the hall into a room but found the occupant was sound asleep. I had never been so far from my body in this state, so I decided that I wanted to go back. I went outside and tried to think how I would do that. As I did, I rose into the air, once again going to a great height, and then sped down and back into my body. And just in case you didn't know, if you have out of body experiences, when you realize you're in an out of body state and you get scared, like especially when it first start happening to you, all you got to do to get back to your body is just think about your body, and you will literally, that'll happen. You will, next thing you know, you shooting back to where your body is, and your spirit goes back in your body, and you wake up. Like seriously, that's how I be waking up sometime. Then I know that I've been astral projecting or had out of body experiences. It's wild. I'd never been so far from my body in this state, so I decided that I wanted to go back. I went outside and tried to think how I would do that. As I did, I rose into the air, once again going to a great height, then sped down and back into my body. Exhausted, excited, and a little frightened. Frankly, I thought I would get up and greet the dawn. I did not feel at all sleepy, but the next thing I knew, my travel alarm was ringing and it was 7:30. Not expecting much, I went to breakfast where, to my surprise, everybody was talking about the fact that one of the conferees had waked up. It says waked up, had waked up and found me in his room. He had talked to me for a short time, whereupon I had gone out through the ceiling. I was naturally called upon to explain myself, so I told the full story of the experience. Two of the other conferees recognized the campus. It was theirs. A year later, they invited me to join them there, and I had the remarkable experience of actually entering a building that I had seen previously only in the out of body down the hall and door of the dorm room I had entered. At the time, science dismisses all of this as impossible. Supernatural poppycock. Matter of fact, that might be our title for today. Supernatural poppycock. OBEs can be induced in the lab, after all. They can, but nothing even close to this has ever been reported, which they absolutely can. Remember, before we even got started reading My Big Toe, we read the CIA document that where they actually released, after they scrubbed some stuff that they didn't want us to see, and they showed you how they use it, right? They use OBEs. They will induce the state of OBEs. And they use that as a form of their warfare. They really do. They still trade secrets. They may not call it stealing. They spy on the enemy. They use the military. And they put them through this process of a week of doing this. And if you're actually going to be trained, it should be longer than a week, so it has an opportunity to develop as you're understanding and learning how to actually operate in your body. But a lot of these guys that did this in military, they didn't offer them any kind of counseling or anything after that. And some of them, it became too much. After the military got done using them, they just pretty much got rid of them. I mean, not killed them, but they just, and they didn't know how to handle it, right? They had been opened up to all this spiritual realm without proper guidance on how this should be developing naturally over the course of your lifetime. And the military just bunched it all into one period for their own purpose, selfish uses, right? And left these men and women destroyed, open to the spiritual realm. And a lot of them, they got all these mental issues and stuff going on with them. They don't know how to operate. They don't know how to function because they have been opened up to something that they don't know how to control yet, right? At the present time, science dismisses all of this as impossible. SuperNatural poppycock. OBEs can be induced in the lab after all. They can, but nothing even close to this has ever been reported. As to the man who saw me, he must have been dreaming. Chalk that one up to coincidence. And the campus? Maybe I had been there before. Or maybe the two professors simply wanted to believe, excuse me, simply wanted to believe and innocently confabulated their beliefs that I was describing my campus. I would submit that Susan makes an important argument in the Field Guide to the Spirit World that these phenomena are not in some way supernatural and therefore outside of the realm of scientific inquiry, but rather that they are part of the natural world and our experience of it that we do not yet understand. On August 11, 2015, my beloved wife of 45 years, Ann Schreiber, died. As I lay beside her body, enveloped in grief, all of my belief in afterlife left me. I was devastated. Her terrible stillness screamed out to me, "You're alone. She's gone. You're alone." From the depth of my love and grief, I asked her, "Do you still exist? Can you let me know?" An hour and a half later, a friend who did not yet know of her death called. She said, "Whitley, I just had a feeling that Ann wanted me to call. Is she all right?" I said to her, "Belle, Ann died at 7:15." Thus began the most powerful and mind-changing life experience I can think. Hold on. Thus began the most powerful and mind-changing life experience I think I can imagine. Anne had begun what soon became a methodical process of contacting friends that left me with little doubt that the soul continues after death and that individual consciousness survives. A week later, I was sitting on a bench in the mountains above Palm Springs, California, consumed with grief and once again asking Anne if she was there. Literally, at that moment, my cell phone rang, and there was a friend from Nashville, Claire Henry, who proceeded to say that she had just gotten a message from Anne that she should call me. She knew Anne was dead, of course. Those were two of many such incidents. I eventually recalled that the two of us had made a plan back in the 1990s that the first one to die would try to make contact if possible. But given that we both were such skeptics, we would first try to contact friends and tell them to contact the one still living. The moment that I realized Anne was carrying out our plan was unforgettably powerful. Tears came to my eyes. The gratitude and joy were just indescribable. They led to an intimate, ongoing relationship between us that has transcended death completely and led to the book that we wrote together, The Afterlife Revolution. I actually downloaded that book. That is on Audible, The Afterlife Revolution. That's actually, you can get the printed version or the Audible version. Field Guide to the Spirit World performs an essential function in that, with its careful scholarships and cognate insights into what is being missed by the materialistic paradigm that now dominates science, it offers the readers a chance to reground herself in such a way that stories like the one I have told here are no longer mysterious. distant, and seemingly impossible, but rather that they represent what I think we should call ordinary experiences. Why is scammers calling me on Sunday, messing up the video? Oh my gosh. Let me stop this because it goes out. Hold on. I just knew I didn't have to do that for today because it's Sunday. Hold on, y'all, real quick. Oh, no, you can't. I ain't done yet. Hold on. Hold on, y'all. And I'm almost done with reading this. Hold on. Let me just restart Facebook over.
It'll take 1 more hour.
Okay.
Pastor, I got a question.
Hold on. Jeremiah?
Uh-huh.
But wait till after I'm done today.
It's
Back
gonna
up.
be 1
Back
more
up, y'all. Back
This
up.
pertains to like what you got going on right now.
Okay. Hold on. All right. Okay. We back live. Okay, hold on.
Boom.
Let me go back. Okay. Field Guide to the Spirit World performs an essential function in that, with its careful scholarship and cognate insights into what is being missed by the materialistic paradigm that now dominates science, it offers the reader a chance to reground herself in such a way that stories like the one I have told here are no longer mysterious, distant, and seemingly impossible, but rather that they represent what I think we should call ordinary experience of the extraordinary. We need to step out of the prison of materialism in order to see such experiences in ways that might deepen our understanding of ourselves and the amazing universe whose consciousness we are privileged to share. And if there ever was a key to the door of that prison worth possessing, it is Susan Martinez's Field Guide to the Spirit World. And so that was the end of the foreword. And it says this about Whitley Strieber or Strieber. Whitley Strieber is author of Communion, War Day, Superstorm, SuperNatural, and most recently, The Afterlife Revolution. His books, The Wolfen, The Hunger, Communion, and Superstorm, as The Day After Tomorrow, have all been made into movies. His book, Alien Hunters, was made into the sci-fi series Hunters. His website is unknowncountry.com, and his podcast, Dreamland, which explores the edge of reality, has been online continuously since 2000. And that's the end of the foreword. I do think I want to read a little bit of the introduction, which is entitled Final Bound, before we definitely ain't gonna get through all of it because it's pretty long. But I do want to read just like a couple pages. Let's see, hold on. I'm looking at y'all comments. There have been many cases popping up over here in our teens, mostly. What? Possession? Hold on, I probably didn't go up far enough. Hold on. Yeah, okay. Christianity brought me as far as it is designed to Canaan being our promised land, but Oahspe was introduced to carry mankind further. Hannah said, that happened to me many years ago. It scared me so much. I had very little spiritual experience at that time. Or OBE, you had an out-of-body experience? Shebrew said, the crazy thing is we're having OBEs with meat in our diets because we weren't plant-based. Yeah, what happens? Look, there's definitely a difference with OBEs when you're full of meat. Things are like crazy because I was having out-of-body experiences like early in life too, before I had become plant-based, right? But there's definitely a difference, and it seems like, at least to me, some of those seem like really out of control where I couldn't get a control of it. And there was a lot of what I would term as more evil spirits showing up there and like attacking me, whatever, to where I would even wake up and like I'd have like whelps and stuff on my arms and just different things that would manifest in my body. I'm like, yo, this is just ain't moving stuff. I'm like, what is happening? But I realized the more I cleanse myself, And when I become plant-based, it seems like even though they may show up, there's a protection around me. Like they'll be like drooling, wanting to tear my head off, and I can feel their energy, but it's like they can't touch me. It's like they can only get so close to me. Right. That's the difference that I've noticed with my outer body experiences. With eating meat and actually changing to a plant-based lifestyle, cleaning that all out of my system.
Yeah,
Right.
no.
The crazy thing is, oh yeah, I just read that, because we all on the legitimate diets, because we all on legitimate diets, and we also heard the Creator came away from the false gods. We were all on we were all on Levitical diets. Okay. Yeah, if you follow, and I was following that for a while, the Levitical priesthood, the Levitical laws, the Levite diet and stuff that you find in Leviticus, where you eating like the clean meats and stuff. My body, it adjusted a little, but I was still having major issues, and it was affecting me spiritually by consuming meat. We should not be consuming meats at all, right? And that's just from my personal experience, y'all. Because it's I don't know. Some things I talk about, people look at me like, girl, you watch too much TV. I'm like, not. And some people, they've never had anything spiritual like that happen to them, and they just really can't, they can't really understand what I'm trying to explain. And the closest reference they have is maybe like a movie or something, and they think it's all fake. And I'm like, yo, it's not. It's really happening to people. Okay. Thothma has been practicing this in ancient Egypt, which is called the death trance. Right. Yep, they call it the death trance, right? We call it today OBE, or astral projection, or out of body experiences, babe. Okay. All right, y'all chill out. Okay. Yeah, Tootie. Okay, yeah, Hannah, I think I was on a fast for medical reasons. Listen, this is when it will heighten a lot, because what happens is, as you begin to cleanse yourself out, you attune yourself more to the spiritual realm, right? And whatever spiritual happenings is going on in your immediate atmosphere, you're gonna run into that first, right? You're gonna click into what is going on there. And if it's a lot of shenanigans happening, you're gonna run into that. Which is why I think some of my when I was still like eating meat, like some of the stuff that was going on around me, some of the things seemed like out of control. You hit that first layer of spiritual realm first. But if you fast, everything will be heightened, especially if you do extended periods of fasting. Yeah, and you will realize it's a lot easier to go out of body. And I wasn't doing it before, like when it was happening, it was just happening to me. Like I was okay, I'm about to have an out of body experience. So I realized a little bit later recently, and it's the last couple years, that you could do it on purpose, right? You could literally train yourself, and you could do this, right? And that's okay, as long as you understand you should be developing. Everybody should know this about their bodies, right? This is how we grow spiritually. This is how we test certain things, right? Because we are spirit and we are flesh. Just like our flesh is growing and developing, our spirit should be too. Because there's going to become a point in time when you're no longer grounded here with this body, and you're going to be a constant OBE, right? That is going to be a constant for your life when you return your flesh to the dirt, right?
Mama,
Yes.
if that's the case, how in the world do you deal with anxiety? Because anxiety is my...
Okay. Pause. If you stay here and listen, it's gonna get into all of that. We may not get into it today, but we'll talk about it a little bit more. Hold on. I was asking, mental illness is truly spiritual possession, and a lot is happening to our... Oh, okay, that's what you were saying earlier. Okay. Yes, listen, as we get through this, you'll be able to pinpoint a lot of this stuff, especially what's happening with the teens and with social media, all of this stuff, and how they're opening themselves up to a lot of this, even with a lot of recreational, just for fun, drug uses, right? Whether they popping pills, even alcohol, like all of these things, it brings a whole lot of things into light, right? Okay, so let's read through a little bit of this introduction, and we'll pause after a few pages. Who we
To
at?
be honest, the one problem
We
with
at an hour.
teens,
Huh?
the one
20
problem with
minutes, 29 minutes.
teens is that this generation, I do get why the elderly, or not the elderly, but your generation before be like, oh my God, they stupid. I'm gonna be honest, coming from this generation, the only reason why teens do what they do now is because they're trying to escape reality because of how it sucks. Because we realize it very early.
I don't
Very
disagree
early
with
in
that.
life.
I
Like,
don't disagree with that.
there's a
Okay.
lot of things y'all say, oh, that's stupid. I don't get why y'all do
Not
it.
everybody. But as you learn and you grow, look, you can be a light in your generation as you're learning these things and help set your brethren and sister free. Okay, introduction, page 1, the final bound. The truth is not hidden from us, we are hiding from it. Reb Yara Kamiel ben Yisrael. We look at it and we do not see it. Its name is the invisible. We listen to it and do not hear it. Its name is the inaudible. We touch it and do not find it. Its name is the subtle. Lao Zhu Tao Te Ching. That's who wrote that little blurb. Okay. Now it begins. Spiritual, psychic, supernatural, ghosts, angels, novelists are toying with it. Movies are exploiting it. Government is using it, and in parentheses, after government is using it. Remember we talked about before the what they're doing with the military people spying on. They call it espionage, right? And here in parentheses with espionage, they capitalize the ESP, espionage, referring to the astral projection that they're teaching the military personnel to do to use them for their own selfish and wicked gains and for lording over other governments. This is a real thing. I'll repost this. The CIA document, we read it probably about 9 months ago now. I'll put the link to it, and I also reshare the videos. Matter of fact, I think I put it in a playlist. I may or may not. If I didn't, I'll put it in a playlist and then I'll share the playlist. I think it took us about 4 or 5 days to read through that document, but I'll reshare that CIA document. All right, but that's really good. Y'all should see what our government really knows. Yeah, right. Remote. They call it remote viewing too. Real good. Thanks, Yahweh. Okay, listen. Spiritual, psychic, supernatural, ghosts, angels, novelists are toying with it, movies are exploiting it, government is using it, espionage, and talking heads are making self conscious jokes about it. But are we ready for the real thing? Hardly. Jemiah, try to keep her quiet. Try to keep her quiet. Talking heads are making self conscious jokes about it. But are we ready for the real thing? Hardly. That which we call PSI is still in the tawdry category of horror as far as retailers are concerned, while the mainstream skeptics claim falsely any evidence of ghosts just doesn't hold up. The spiritual movement in the US was built on scams. Angel 2015, page 75. And we'll see throughout here the references after some of the sentences. It'll be in parentheses along with the page number of where you can find this, right? And all of the references are in the back. But what about the tunnel dividing this world from the next? The tunnel, aka the void, the vacuum, the valley, the vortex, has recently become the main metaphor of the near death experience, or NDE for short. Among those who die but revive, descriptions of the transition include moving very rapidly through a long dark tunnel. I found myself in a tunnel of concentric circles. I was in a sort of whirling state. I felt as if I were moving in a vacuum, in a cylinder. I was moving through this long dark place. I went through this dark black vacuum at super speed. I entered a narrow, very, very dark passageway. I was moving through a deep, very dark valley and the like. Moody, 1975, front page, pages 30 through 34. And Dr. Hey, do me a favor, little girl. Go up there with the rest of your brothers and your auntie and your uncles. Take her up there, please. Take her upstairs. Keep them all up in the loft. I'll be done in a few minutes. We're on page 2, y'all. In Dr. Melvin's Morse 1990 study of NDEs in children, I found more than 25 testimonials that specifically describe a tunnel, the place, as Dr. Morse terms it, where the material and the spiritual worlds meet. 1991, page 126. But entering the tunnel or touching the darkness is by no means limited to the NDER. This in between place, this limbo, has been depicted in almost every variety of ASC or altered states of consciousness. We find the tunnel described everywhere in the literature of MPD or multiple personal disorder, of autism, of astral projection and mediumship, of hypnosis and dream, of demonic possession, and even in cases of criminal psychopathy. That's it, right? Psychopathy. And even in cases of criminal psychopathy. In criminology, we have the psychopath or sociopath. In demonic possession, the subject is a victim. In psychiatry, it is the client. In PSI, it is the medium or the sensitive. In the occult, it is the EER or the extraordinary experiencer. In MPD, it is the patient and her alters. In poltergeistery, the experiencer is the focal agent. Although these appear to be Although these appear to be disparate areas, once we delve into the spirit influence, we find a common link, an underlying factor X. But because specialists are so insulated from other fields of knowledge in today's world, it is rare that we glimpse the remarkable similarities that exist between multiples, somnambules, narcissists, obsessives, autistic children, psychics, as well as cases of possession, schizophrenia, sociopathy, hysteria, and poltergeistery. I think I said that right. The common determinator is the ASC, disassociation from the ordinary reality. In this book, we delve into that separate reality, that non physical existence in which the disembodied being might find himself. When Kenneth Ring found striking links between people with NDEs and UFO encounters, he called these folks EERs or extraordinary experiencers. Not surprisingly, abductees tend to be psychic. These EERs get high scores in ESP tests. They have paranormal experiences, are prone to trance, and there are quite a few MPDs among them. EERs tend to have dissociative personalities. They are sensitives who have not developed their gift. Most have been physically vulnerable since childhood and are natural recipients for extraordinary phenomena of all sorts. Ring 1992, page 142 and 129. Consider the mounting literature on and more frequent occurrence of the baffling phenomena of MPD and OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. Remember, MPD is multiple personal disorder, and OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. Closely related to these are numerous cases worldwide of spirit possession. A touch away is the matter of psychic mediumship, and at a stone's throw, we have the mysterious voices and foreboding whispers that prompt antisocial behavior, even crimes of the most ghastly yet inexplicable kind. We will visit them all. I have long been writing to prove that the spirit world is not an invented thing, but a reality with which we have fallen out of touch. There is a biblical prophecy in Acts chapter 2, verses 17 through 8 by Joel, according to which the use of psychic powers will one day be widespread among people and commonly accepted. And we all know this. And it's also found in Joel. It's repeated in Acts. I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh. Psychic powers are coming back. Psychic powers are coming back around the mountain. The use of ESP also aiding the moral rebirth of mankind. Riesel 2007, page 101. With secondary selves, we have not only a chronic form of ASC, but also a virtual state of siege. MPD seizures, as Dr. Charcot once observed, can be mistaken for epilepsy. In one MPD case, Kit Castle, Dr. Beadler noted the medium mystic Kit's history of epilepsy and its curious connection to the poltergeist activity surrounding her. It is especially in the switching process, switch and twitch, from one persona alter to the other, that the multiple is seized, sometimes flailing and writhing. In the case of Billy Milligan, his lips twitched, he was quivering. Keys, 1981, page 54. Epileptoid symptoms are not uncommon in MPD. When another multiple, Beth, switched to her alter, Anna, her eyes rolled up to the ceiling. Mayer, 1989, page 20. Just stop trying to do that until I'm done. All right, page 4. It's a title, No Earthly Power. Let me take hyperpraxia as a single example of a baffling experience with a paranormal underpinning. Hyperpraxia denotes feats of extraordinary, unearthly strength. In one instance, having been assured by the hypnotist that it was light as a feather, a man of low muscular development took a 20-pound weight, which ordinarily he could barely lift, and twirled it around his little finger. Inglis, 1992, page 193. The well known mental traveler, OBER, out of body experiencer, Vincent Turvey explains his long distance clairvoyance as appearing to see through a tunnel. His biographer comments, here we have a perfect description of etheric flight. When Mr. Turvey's double was capable of physical exertion, hold on. When Mr. Turvey's double was capable of physical exertion, he once lifted a bed with two people on it, though incapable, when in the body, of lifting a small child. He was, of course, drawing on some psychic force. Battersby, 1979, page 93. Hyperpraxia is one of the cardinal signs, according to the ritual Romanum, of entity possession. Though Dr. Peck's patient, Becca, was dramatically underweight, gaunt like a concentration camp victim, she exhibited superhuman strength during her exorcism. Peck, 2005, page 134 and 151. Thrashing.
Can we go see a hypnotist?
Boy, stop interrupting me this morning because you interrupted me with foolishness. Some days you be right on point, but today, hush. Listen, hush, Jeremiah. Thrashing and contorting, the victim of possession is often impossible to restrain. Even the slight 13-year-old boy, the exorcist's real-life child, threw off a team of full-grown men. Possession, working at full strength in a human being, can be overwhelmingly forceful. During the exorcism of the woman called Therese, Fathers Pier Paolo and Guestino in Italy could not restrain her. She seemed to have 100 times her normal strength. Christianity, Christianity, 1961, page 139. In a similar French case, the woman was so violently possessed that her strength was above 5 women's, not unlike not unlike a Chinese case where the woman's strength was almost superhuman. Ebon 1974, page 92 and page 140. As for the Haitian Lao Wade Davis, in his brilliant analysis of the serpent and the rainbow, sat as an observer during the Haitian rite of spirit possession. The woman was mounted by the divine horseman. She had become the spirit. Never in the course of my travels in the Amazon had I witnessed a phenomenon as raw or powerful as the spectacle of Vodun possession that followed. The initiate, a diminutive woman. Did I say that right? Diminutive. The initiate, hold on, you coming to see what the word is? Diminutive.
Yeah. Diminutive.
Yeah, the initiate, a diminutive woman, tore about the peristyle, lifting large men off the ground to swing them about like children. Davis, 1985, page 45. This supernatural strength Davis calls the mystical agility. Multiples, too, have performed prodigious feats of strength, like Billy Milligan, who smashed the toilet bowl with his fist. Jennifer, another multiple, who describes her own disassociated, I'm sorry, who describes her own dissociated state as if I were in some dark tunnel, broke a tennis racket in half during one of her rages. I can't believe I broke it, like it wasn't me, like somebody else had taken over. Social Wolf, 1991, pages 26 to 28. The epileptic may also be imbued with this paranormal power. The strength he exerts during the attack seems to exceed his natural endowment. Lermite, 1963, page 28. Overshadowed by malignant spirits, the psychopath may be a candidate for both epilepsy and hyperpraxia. Richard Ramirez, the LA Night Stalker, had been an epileptoid in childhood, and as a man, when he was in killing mode, his strength increased and he carried her, the victim, like she was a weightless rag doll. Carlo, 1996, page 142. John Wayne Gacy, serial killer, had also been a sickly boy with spells of fainting, rolling back eyes, swooning. The doctors found nothing, but during a hospitalization at age 17, he was diagnosed as having an epileptic fit. According to the doctor, Gacy told FBI super agent Robert Ressler, 1992, page 86. When I had an epileptic seizure, I had 800 times my own strength. The seizures, we suggest, have something to do with Gacy's belief that his crime had been committed by someone other than himself. Ressler, 1990, page 247. But also the medium and adept Jean Balu Nubro, who lifted a ton without apparent effort. Fodor, 1966, page 263, just as his contemporaries. And we know JBN, right?
Where is this?
Listen, no, we finding out more stuff. Listen, we got to see it all the way to the end, my G.
Hold on,
Listen.
bro.
Listen, hold up.
Yes.
Listen. But also the medium and adept like John Balu Nubro, who lifted a ton without apparent effort. Fodor, 1966, page 263, just as his contemporaries, the Fox sisters and the Coombs boy, all in the 1850s, exhibited remarkable feats of strength. Then in 1884, it was Georgia's Lulu Hurst who captured American audiences with her inexplicable prowess. Okay, so there's this picture with Lulu Hurst, the Georgia Wonder, right? Those of y'all who live in Georgia, go look into Lulu Hurst. Listen. Okay, so I'm gonna show this picture, and I'll take a picture of this. This is for Facebook, so you can see. Screenshot it if you want to, but I'm gonna take a clear picture of it, and I'll post it so y'all can see this. Right. So you see that woman, and it's going to explain what's happening. Okay.
I'm going to some type of not psychic, but I'm telling you, just watch.
You look right. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, all these sicknesses, many of our family members suffers from some of them. Yes, they absolutely do. Look how full the mental facilities and the jails are. And those are spirits who are inhabiting people. There's trillions around us, just absolutely, Shebrew, just waiting for their chance, right? So we better quit playing with this stuff, right? Listen, I mentioned this before. This is one of my old pastors taught us, and then I've never known anything to be more true. I talk about it all the time because I found that it truly is let's not even say a hidden key, but even in the New Testament, Jesus talks about it. He said this kind does not come out but by fasting, by prayer and fasting. What was he talking about? Wasn't just talking about the demonic possession, but also the unbelief of everything that was happening, right? Fasting, even if you are the one that is possessed or you being obsessed or depressed by spirits or outside forces, and a lot of people can feel that, and sometimes they mistake those oppressions, possessions, depressions as themselves when it's not really them. They are being overshadowed by, like, come here, Jeremiah. Say if this is you, what they can't see is the spirit that's overshadowing them. If they all of a sudden start getting depressed out of nowhere, if the spiritual realm was opened up, you'd see that spirit hanging on to you, doing all this, doing all this on you and pulling you down, and you don't understand why you so like, what is going on with me? I can't seem to shake this. The fastest way, in my understanding, maybe other ways, right? If you take it to the hospitals, they're going to try and give you medicine. They're going to try electroshock therapy, because the whole electroshock therapy thing started trying to relieve your person of the spirit that was overshadowing you, not shock you back into your right sense. Technically, maybe, but it was really to disconnect the overshadowing spirit that was attaching itself to you, right? So a lot of times those are not even your own thoughts telling you to do crazy things. Those are spirits waiting to get in. And if you follow some of that advice that they're suggesting to you, you open yourself to be put in a sunken place, and it gives them, you open the door. Thank you. Now I can drive your body, i.e. reincarnation. Yes.
Let me be honest. Let me peer into the spiritual realm. I see one of them doing it. I'm being serious. I might hurt his feelings. His or her feelings so bad. They gonna look at me.
Listen, but one of the best ways to dislodge an unwanted spirit from you is to fast. Literally water fast. Because you will literally think about what we learned about spirits, right? And when they attach themselves and you have habits, you're eating meat, you're constantly feeding these spirits because they feed off the atmospheric portions of the food. Think about what the Bible talks about when they slaughtering the sacrifices and stuff, and they get the sweet smelling savor. That's how they're fed. If you're constantly doing things and have things that keep them around, they're gonna stay attached to you. Fast, water fast, right? It will stop everything that they are there for, and it will dislodge them. It will set you free. It may take a little bit of time, depending on what you in or what they done got you into. But that is one of the quickest ways to deliver yourself, right? You got habits, or even the habits of overeating, overindulgence in sexual activity, pornography, drinking, drugs, whatever. Fasting will help, and it's hard. But if you stick with it, you will begin to take control of your own soul salvation and free yourself, right? That is a key that I 100% agree with, even in the New Testament, right? Absolutely. Okay. So let's read this little page on Lulu Hurst. And I think after they're talking about Sybil too. Hold on. I forgot. Okay, listen. Okay, let me read this. I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna take a picture. I'm gonna read what it says. Lulu Hurst, the Georgia Wonder, writes her autobiography and for the first time explains and demonstrates. And at the bottom under the picture, so in the picture you have this woman look like clearly supernatural strength and all these men. She just flailing around, just this little old lady, right? And it says, the great secret of her marvelous power, a death blow to spiritualism and superstition of every kind, a new and unparalleled revelation of the forces that puzzle and mystify the entire continent. Full page illustrations, copyrighted, all rights reserved. Published and for sale by Psychic Research Company, Times Herald Building, Chicago. Who reads the book can acquire the power. And then it says figure 1.1, the electric maid. On stage, three men would pile on a chair and Lulu would move it into the air with her hands. A group of men would grasp a cane, brace themselves, and little Lulu would grab the cane and drag the men back and forth across the stage, flinging them all into the footlights. Miles 2000, page 251. And I'll show y'all this picture again. That's for Facebook, YouTube. Ron's, yo, this week has been wild with the fasting. Yo, let me tell you something. You ain't started going spiritual until you started trying to add some fasting in. Once you get past your flesh and fighting through them first few days of just getting this under control, because the first few days you're gonna have to fight your flesh, right? Oh, you better go get something. You gonna die. You know you ain't supposed to be doing this. You need to be under doctor supervision, and some people do, right? Don't take it for granted, especially if you have a lot of medical issues going on. But go to a certified holistic doctor, not the regular ones, because they don't study fasting. They only study as much as to fast for these couple of days to do a surgery and chop you up and remove stuff. That's the extent of their fasting knowledge. Most of them. So go to somebody who's holistic and study these things, master herbalists, and they can teach you and they can, they can guide you to make sure you don't hurt yourself, especially if you are taking multiple medications. They have the understanding and the know-how and the knowledge to help wean you off of the medications, naturally with your fasting, or whether if you're not doing straight water, using herbs and fresh fruit juices, they'll do it and naturally wean you off. So remember that, right? But yeah, getting into it's one of the most making fasting a lifestyle is one of the most life-changing things, not just physically, but you just by default from fasting, you just gonna get physical goodness coming. But the thing that I love the most is the spiritual clarity and the insight and the connection to the Father and being able to see and clear. That is one of the things that I love, which is why I talk about it a lot. And I'm constantly doing little small fasts, working myself back up to the bigger fast and everything, right? So, but each time I fast, I learn something new about it and about myself, about my body, about my spirit, right? It's a wonderful education.
Like, what days are stuff like? Is it like 3 days?
So we're just gonna
like how long? Because I can fast. It's not that.
Depending on what you're trying to fast
We're gonna talk about this
for,
because
you know.
I'm also trying to fast because I don't want to deal with anxiety.
so these
Well, first of all, you have to realize what you're doing that's causing the anxiety. Think about your triggers. What triggers the anxiety? Deal with that. Get to the root of the problem. And it's simple. Start by fasting 1 day a week on the Sabbath, right? Because you should be resting from everything, including from what you shovel into your pie hole.
If you're trying to say I'm a girl,
So
All right,
I'll leave
hold
it
on.
for Sundays, since Sundays is off. Dad started it back then. I don't know if you remember, but Dad always said no electronic Sundays. Sundays are considered nap days. Everybody get off, no TV, no game, no none.
Yeah, right. But we just kind of like adjusted that to the Sabbath. That at that time, that's what we knew. That's what we understood. And every Sunday was our Sabbath, right? But now we're following the Sabbath according to the
why
Most High.
every Sunday?
Let's talk about this a minute. Let me get done with this, son. You weren't even on this earth yet. Listen. Okay. All right, y'all. Chill. Let me get through a little bit more of this, and then we're gonna pause, y'all. Okay. Page 7. Most interestingly, rolling eye, and we'll wrap it up in like 15 minutes, y'all. Most interestingly, rolling eyes, twitches, or marked changes in facial expression, observes Dr. McNutt, also happens to be signs of spirit possession. Head 2004, page 58. though also evident in the trance convulsions of the trained medium. It is understandable that the overwhelming loss of control in trance mediumship can occasion involuntary spasms. Miss Piper, falling into trance, would be subject to slight convulsive movements, something like an epileptoid fit. So we ask, isn't there some overriding factor at play in these freakish displays of multiples, the possessed, the schizophrenic, the psychic, the historic? Tourette's syndrome, we might add, also resembles possession. Tics, sudden jerks, guttural sounds, shouting, obscenities, and these in turn dovetail with the displays of some autists whose symptoms range from clairvoyance to MPD and OCD. Dr. Arthur Goodham, 1982, pages 52 through 53, has said what used to be called Saint Vitus dance or chorea is now known as obsessional tics. In these, the child suffers from uncontrollable twitchings. These children were prone suddenly to burst out in obscene language with no relevance to immediately preceding topics of conversation. And after obscene language, there's a little asterisk. And down at the bottom, the asterisk says, why does Corporal Layla or sudden fits of filthy or abusive language, see Appendix A, occur in spirit possession, criminal pathology, OCD, and MPD? We seen this. I shared a little clip. Remember, Lovecraft Country. Remember when we was still in Oahspe, towards the end, we was talking about some of this, and it was giving example, and I was telling you about Lovecraft Country, and we was talking about the discarnate entities and the what they would label as demon spirits or ghosts in that house that the sisters had bought was really people who had lived before, but they showed their bodies in Lovecraft Country of what they looked like at the time of their murder. So some were headless, meaning that the head got chopped off, or they had a noose around the neck, or there was a scientist that was doing experiments. There was a huge dude who had a baby head, right? So it brought some clarity to some things that we may see in the spiritual realm. It was like, oh my gosh, these are demons. They look like freakish monsters, but it's showing them because they went into the spirit world in chaos, and that's what they look like, right? So, but when they had this down in the basement and they was about to cast out this demon, the scientist dude, who it was his house, whom he was doing all these experiments on black people, remember he possessed what's his name? The dude, anyway, the black dude possessed him, and he was stomping, cursing. He was having these fits of rage. I'm gonna reshare it again today so you can see it. Right? Yeah, Lovecraft Country. Right. So, but y'all probably seen it. So you probably seen somebody walking down the street cursing, like look like they out of their mind, or somebody like all of these things. I'm sure we're all familiar with. If we haven't seen it in person, we probably didn't seen it in a movie. If not, I'll share a couple clips.
If y'all see
right?
that, y'all better work to the other side of the road. Walk to that other sidewalk. Don't y'all do nothing crazy.
Listen,
I know one of y'all thinking about it.
Listen, chill.
But
Hold on.
I was about to say, to be honest, I think, well, I call them the deranged, or AKA demons. Honestly, I just think they need a hug.
Tick for they may have, right?
I think that's all they really need.
Listen,
They just need some love.
Because they was coming out with another season of Lovecraft Country. There was a lot of truth throughout Lovecraft Country, right? Now be careful if you go to watch it if you haven't seen it yet. There's a few scenes in there, a few sexual scenes of the unnatural order, right? But boy, chill. But just be aware, right? But it does. Lovecraft Country shows you a lot of spiritual truth. Okay. These children, hold on. Who was the asterisk? Oh, I gotta finish reading the asterisk thing. Hold on, let me just start over. Why does Corporal Layla sudden fits of filthy or abusive language, See Appendix A, occur in spirit possession, criminal pathology, OCD, and MPD. Gurdam's, I said go upstairs. No, put it back. Gurdam's patient Annette passed passed in a second from her natural charm to a state in which she strung together the most vile collection of four-letter words the doctor had ever heard. 1982, page 52. So let's go back up. These children were prone to sudden bursts out in obscene language with no relevance to the immediately preceding topics of conversation, whether or no this particular manifestation should be called obsessive or due to possession. The basic fact remains that the two conditions are allied to each other. Emphasis added. People with Tourette's, moreover, are likelier to have ADHD, impulsivity, OCD, learning disabilities, and sleep disorders. Most of this is presumably due to their difficulties with impulse control. Impulse? I don't think so, but yes, it is a matter of self control. Quote, sometimes an earthbound spirit steps in and takes control, emphasis added, and then their obsession or, I'm sorry, and then there is obsession or possession. End quote. Carl Wicklund, 30 Years Among the Dead. I got that and I haven't gotten through all of that either. Okay, page 8. What shall we make of the serial killer like J.W. Gacy or John Wayne Gacy, who feels that someone else is controlling his actions? Eric Chapman, for another, believed that people were controlling him with their thoughts or that the CIA was plotting to control his brain. Markham and Bosco, 1989, pages 304 to 308. Along the same lines, why do certain paranoid schizophrenics imagine they are being manipulated by space aliens, Martians, etc.? Some patients complain that they have lost control of their minds and that thoughts are put into their head by outside influences. Now, these are exactly the symptoms one would expect if the theory of spirit obsession were true. Archer, 1967, page 101. Can you tell them to calm down up there? Usually, the victim has no clue of the personality behind the invasion of his own mind and so constructs some fancy to account for it. Dr. Rappaport, an OCD specialist, has encountered kids and teens with ET, alien, outer space creature scenarios. Debbie was one of a dozen kids who had their own science fiction story to explain the planted thoughts. Laura, OCD since age 7, had watched a movie about Martians controlling people on Earth. This, she thought, might explain the foreign thoughts inside her head. Rappaport's patient Sam was another. I would imagine myself being the controlled pawn of observers from outer space. How else could one explain the compulsions that I knew were so endless? Rappaport, 1989, page 113, 139, and 54. Mega control in early life has been found at the base of many pathological disruptions of psyche, including dual personality, Capgras syndrome, hysteria, schizophrenia, compulsive crime, somnambulism, extreme depression, ODP, and other spontaneous automatums like hyperpraxia and coprolalia. Seek and you will find a highly domineering parent or guardian. Somehow, self will has been removed from the child, most likely at the hands of an overpowering parent or even a church. In many cases, parental mega control was exercised amid a total absence of encouragement and affection, which are the water and sunshine of a healthy growing child. Strictness often comes with a lack of affection. Rita, medium mystic, tried to please her father, but only invoked his wrath. He had her beaten for an imagined impudence. Such parent-child relationships are found quite uniformly among the families of the all spiritualist mediums interviewed. All have referred to their upbringing as a strict and described their parents as undemonstrative with each other and with their children. Crapanzano and Garrison, 1977, page 55. Billy Milligan's stepfather not only abused him horrifically, but also an extremely rigid, tyrannical individual with little feeling for others. Daddy Shaw was also hypercritical, watching the boy constantly. Billy sat on the couch the way he'd been told to, feet flat on the floor, hands on his knees. Keys, 1981, page 176. Dr. Mayer recalls, I once had an MPD, a multiple personality disorder. I once had an MPD patient who would often hear a voice berating and cursing him. He was convinced he was possessed by a Dybbuk, a Jewish demon, which would yell at him. Susan, another multiple treated by Mayer, had been dominated by her church deacon father, who tried hard to control her. Lauren's mother was always picking on her. Toby's mother was domineering and sadistic, scalding her with boiling water. Mayer, 1989, page 165, 126, 145, and 251. The mother of Sybil, a famous multiple, always had her by the arm. Hers was a family of zealots. The radio, laughter, and other pleasures were the work of the devil. Home life was filled with religious strictures, fundamentalist prohibitions. Strictures. Yeah. Home life was filled with religious strictures, fundamentalist prohibitions, evangelical ranting, and puritanical rigidities. Schreiber, 1973, page 256. In the case of Audrey, OCD, the 28-year-old was the product of strict parochial school upbringing. Come on, some headphones, please, or eat in there. In the case of Audrey, OCD, the 28-year-old was the product of strict parochial school upbringing. Excessively preoccupied with prayer and confession, she was certain that Satan himself was implanting sinful thoughts in her mind. As a rule, possessed people know that something is wrong, as if another force were gripping them. They're out of control. Something is living underneath their skin. Burnham, 1990, page 138. Yes, trauma definitely opens the door, Shebrew. When I was in high school, I did a book report on Sybil and had to read it in front of the class. You could hear a pin drop. What she went through was so devastatingly sad. Wow. Yeah, I kind of read some of this stuff. It's like, whew, boy. I was like, now I had some crazy things happen to me and pick up on some stuff, but some of these just make the hair on my skin stand up. I'm just like, oh my goodness, right? Which draws me closer to the Father. I'm like, Father, keep me. And all my researching help me not to open up doors that shouldn't be open, right? Listen, there is something chillingly similar between the personality of the sociopath, APD, antisocial personality disorder, and that of the bodacious alters of the MPD. It is almost as if the sociopath is himself ruled by a dominant alter who is rebellious and obnoxious. We know this. Extreme selfishness underlies both the sociopath and the unmanageable alters of the multiple. What was that movie? It's a recent movie with Samuel L. Jackson, and it was a movie with the dude that he was in the crazy home. Well, they put him not crazy home, but anyway, they put him in an insane asylum. But this the Split. Yes, Split. Y'all seen Split? It took me so long to watch it because I'm just like, but you get a whole lot of spiritual truth in that movie. I wouldn't watch it at night, but that's just my fears speaking out.
the actual movie.
But it's a really, I watched it. It's a really, really good movie, and they show some they show some spiritual principles that, like, if you're learning this, it brings a whole lot of things to light. Right? It's good. I do recommend it. Would I watch it again? I would watch it again because I understand now what I didn't understand back then. So now I wouldn't be scared to go, but I still probably wouldn't watch it at night. I don't fool around with darkness. Listen, look, I'm still working on me. Listen, hold on. There is something chillingly similar between the personality of the sociopath, APD, antisocial personality disorder, and that of the bodacious alters of the MPD. It is almost as if the sociopath is himself ruled by a dominant alter who is rebellious and obnoxious. We know this extreme selfishness underlies both the sociopath and the unmanageable alters of the multiple. The same unbridled self interest is the final criterion of the lowest grade spirits. In the study of criminal psychology, one is forced to the conclusion that the most dangerous of all types of mind is that the inordinately selfish man. I read it again. In the study of criminal psychology, one is forced to the conclusion that the most dangerous of all types of mind is that of the inordinately selfish man. Costello, 1994, page 31. The lowest mortal grade in the Oahspe system is the most self-serving, thus easy prey to Druhas, the lowest of the low in the spirit world. I was about to bring up this in Oahspe, but I just decided to keep reading, and they actually said what I was about to say. The lowest mortal grade in the Oahspe system is the most self-serving, thus easy prey to Druhas, the lowest of the low in the spirit world. So if you're absolutely selfish, always thinking about yourself, you are easy prey for spirit possession, oppression, and was it oppression, possession, and depression, right? You prime targets for them, right? Selfishness, conceitedness, always worried about yourself, traumas, all these things. About to get into this really, really deeply. Another reasonable question: why does memory loss occur so consistently in possession in ASCs, MPD, criminals, and self-cutting, as well as among trance mediums who usually do not know what happened until told afterward? Then there is the amnesia of those possessed by the spirit in Haitian Vodun. Davis, 1985, page 216. 2. Kenneth Ring, 1992, page 65. Chill. Who compares shamanic rites and ordeals to UFO contactees, especially notes the return phase, which is marked by feelings of confusion, disorientation, time loss, and memory impairment. The multiple, too, sometimes hears the statements of others that she slapped someone or screwed with some person she doesn't even know, and on and on. Cohen et al., 1991, page 41. Hey, y'all, two little ones, chill. This makes it easier to consider that many persons who suffer from amnesia are in reality MPs. Schreiber, 1973, page 449. The super multiple Trudy Chase, 1987, page 63 and 88, did not remember her childhood at all and was even unaware of things discussed moments before. Mayer's multiple Susan had no memory before the age of 12. I had yet to meet the psychologist who can explain why MPD and OCD have so much in common. Eve, the famous multiple, gave Rorschach, I probably said that wrong, Rorschach, that showed marked OCD traits. Read it again. Eve, the famous multiple, gave Rorschach that showed marked OCD traits. Thigpen and Cleckley, 1957, page 109. There is often so much overlap that doctors don't know what to diagnose. In the case of Jenny, for example, a suicidal patient with ECT, doctors diagnosed schizophrenia, depression, and bipolar in turn. Such promiscuous diagnoses are more common than we realize. Can we, moreover, really differentiate between possession and MPD? After all, the evil spirit will make every attempt to appear to be one and the same person with its victim, as one exorcist put it. Martin, 1976, page 18. Said another, while some clinicians deeply suspect my cases of purported possession are actually cases of MPD. Oh, okay. Let me read it again. Said another, while some clinicians deeply suspect my cases of purported possession are actually cases of MPD, I have come to suspect that their purported cases of MPD may actually be cases of possession. Peck 2005, page 102. The classic case of Mary Rolfe was a terrific blend of possession and MPD, secondary personality. One can hardly distinguish between them. Quote, I was fed up after listening to four. I was fed up after listening to 4 or 5 doctors come up with 4 or 5 different explanations, all of which were dead wrong. I realized that the doctors were groping around in the dark in this infant science called psychiatry. End quote. Danny quoted in Nefe, A Stranger in the Family. We know that victims of both poltergeist and demonic possession often loathe religious objects, venting their fury at formal rites. In fact, one theorist put poltergeistry as a type of possession. So why not put together under possession MPD, OCD, schizophrenia, etc.? Because the big picture does not suit today's narrow specialists, particularly if the underlying principle has a supernatural ring. But the man on the street, surveys tell us that there is a good deal of general interest in the paranormal and that 40% of Americans believe there is such a thing as haunted houses, while 65% accept some form of survival after death. Nevertheless, the official word remains with the scoffers. For quite a number of reasons, PSI phenomena continue to fly under the radar, kept in the proverbial closet. Detractors have been whitewashing the spirit world for hundreds of years because it fits neither the religious nor scientific model. Quote, editors may secretly believe but openly denounce, end quote. Henry Steele Alcott, People from the Other World. Many individuals too have kept secret or unspoken their own paranormal experiences. Why the big secret? Is it because we fear ridicule or that no one will understand? Quote, psychic attacks are far more commoner than is generally realized. There is very much more in the mind than accounted for by the accepted psychological theories. End quote. Dion Fortune, Psychic Self-Defense. Nandor Fodor, the greatest 20th century compiler of psychic evidence, published many accounts of the psychic taint, including the prudent decision of one psychic head of state, Canada, to avoid becoming too actively identified with psychical research work. Psychical, was it? Psychical, what? How do I say this word? Psychical. Psychical.
Psychical.
You look. I spelled it for y'all.
Psychical.
Okay, stop. Y'all gonna mess me up more.
Pistachio.
Psychical.
Pistachio.
So I think psychiacal. Okay, listen. Okay, listen. Then stop. I think I got it. Wait, so I think it's psychiacal. I was adding the extra. Listen, I spelled it for y'all. Psychical. Psychiacal. Okay, let me read it over. Nandor Fodor, the greatest 20th century compiler of psychic evidence, published many accounts of the psychic taint, including the prudent decision of one psychic head of state, Canada, to avoid becoming too actively identified with psycho research work. Another account cites the superintendent of schools of New York, who was forced to resign because he publicly stated his belief in spirits. Fodor, 1964, page 4 and page 17. And after this reference, there's another asterisk, and down at the bottom it says, Fodor's contemporary, Dr. Carl Jung, kept secret his lifelong spiritual experiences. See my book, Delusions in Science and Spirituality, chapter 6. We're going to get to that book. We ain't going to go there now. Okay. The reason for secrecy or denial could be something as pragmatic as the precautions taken in selling or renting out a haunted house. The Surrey boarding house, for example, where the Lincoln assassination was plotted. The place had a reputation for being haunted, which throughout its long history hurt its resale price. Or take the Certain Group home, another Victorian building that was featured on Halloween broadcast and certified haunted by a paranormal organization that investigated the complaints of owners. The landlord, dismissing all gossip of hauntings, said, "Hey, it's just a nice old house. I'm sure there's no ghost there. I put in new
That's very
wiring.
suspicious.
I put in new wiring, plumbing, and walls, and I haven't seen a single ghost. But even if he had seen one, chances are the skeptics would have explained it away, perhaps as a hallucination or imagination or rats in a wall. While it is perfectly reasonable to look for a commonplace explanation like a trick of the moonlight, not every apparition or weirdness can be eliminated in this way. And when the evidence for some unseen power is overwhelming, the doubter's line of defense falls to mere semantics, explaining away the phenomena with obtuse verbiage, trotted out or awkward, ambiguous phrases like an exteriorized nerve force, dramatization of a telepathic impulse, hyper acceptability, unconscious autosuggestion or subration, primal instinct, some unknown magnetic principle, bundle of projected expressions. Although most of these word groups do not come with a good explanation or clarification, a bit of effort has gone into the concept of thought forms, in which case it is argued that a house, for example, could hold the thoughts or energy of its former occupants. Hey, yeah, when I'm done, I'll be done in a few minutes. In which case, it is argued that a house, for example, could hold the thoughts or energy of its former occupants, which then manifests as a haunting. Frankly, whenever I hear theories resort to thought forms or an energy, I am nonplussed. Energy per se has no intelligence, no personality, nor purpose, whereas the entity behind apparition does. The term energy in place of entity is simply an evasion, a way to beat around the bush. And after energy, there's another asterisk, and I think we're gonna pause after I read this energy portion after this because it has energy and poltergeist, and I pause. As Eugene Morey, 1988, page 62, a great 20th century exorcist and spiritualogist observes, since a spirit entity normally has no physical energy, he can, on occasion, absorb the excess energy from a small child or from the manipulations by a chiropractor. Spirits, he points out, may also accumulate energy by gathering it up from a scene of lively human activity. Any such energy can be drawn upon to produce poltergeist activity. That is true, right? Okay, so the next page after this, energy and poltergeist, we'll pause. Energy and poltergeist. Even so called experts in the paranormal often resort to the clueless energy explanation, which is no explanation at all. In one poltergeist case, Rosemary E. Gully, 2000, page 331, makes bold to declare discarnate beings were eliminated as a possible cause, for none had manifested or communicated. Virginia, the young focal agent, had never complained about being possessed or harassed by unseen agents. The most likely cause was Virginia herself. Her rapid pubescence may have generated the energy, emphasis added, to create poltergeist forces. And namely, Goley even suggests the entire episode may have been in part an attention getting device. I would like to contrast Gully's vacuous analysis with the words of Ina Twigg, England's foremost medium of the mid 20th century. When asked what she thought of the poltergeist phenomena, Twigg replied, "These are people, spirit people, who have a strong reason for coming back to the world. Perhaps they passed on, obsessed with some unsatisfied urge. No stranger to poltergeistry, Twigg, in one alarming case, was called to a family home where fires were breaking out all over. Chairs, rugs, beds, curtains just catching fire spontaneously. I had never seen anything like it in my life. It was really terrifying. As Ina sat with the family in the living room, she suddenly heard a voice. I'm Jimmy. Who are you? She asked. I'm her brother. I died as a result of a fire when I was 3 years old. Then she asked him, Why are you terrorizing these people like this? It is my only means of making them wake up to the fact that what is happening in the family is too dreadful for words. She asked him what was going on in the family that disturbed him so, and he told her the story. It involved a wicked quarrel and estrangement among family members. The spirit was determined to continue his stunts until peace was meaningfully restored among the family. Twig then asked him to promise to leave if peace were in fact made between them. I promise you that if they make peace, there will be no more disturbance. And there were no more fires. Twig and Broad, 1973, page 62 through 110. That right there blew my mind. The son, like nobody ever put together, hey, this might be Jimmy. Jimmy died by fire. These fires are breaking out. Jimmy, is that you? Nobody putting these pieces together, right? But this is so interesting, right? Okay, so we'll pause right here, y'all. Oh my gosh, we're at 2 hours and 32 minutes. Okay, all right, so we'll pause here. It's just because we've been here for a while. And I wanted to go as long as I could today because tomorrow we start at 6:15 a.m. and we cannot really go over the 7:15 mark, right? Like I have to be done. It'll be 6:15 to 7:15. So if I share a story and it takes up more time, it's just gonna be a part of the time, right? And wherever we pause that is just where we're gonna have to pause at, right? And because especially after November the 7th, which is not this Monday, but next Monday, I absolutely cannot. I'm trying to get this going before that date hits because there can be no running over my time after that because of, family business requirements and all of that stuff. So yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed this today. I'm gonna try and keep it, when we get a good bit, I'll try not to go off on rabbit trails or whatever. But if it's a part of the conversation and it helps us and somebody sharing something, I ain't gonna cut it short. I mean, I'll cut it at the end of the time. It may shorten our reading time from one of the other books, but y'all get it. We'll work it out as we go. All right, so we started page 15. And I put the dates here. Start marking my dates. Okay. All right, beautiful people. So thank y'all for hanging out. It is Sunday, October the 30th, 2022, day 250 of year 4, reading through the books of the law and the prophets, another 4-year consecutive day count, day 1249. We started over in Oahspe today. We read through the what is this? The list of portraits and the preface. And then we started the field guide to the spirit world. Remember, Susan B. Martinez, she is a true faithist indeed. She studied Oahspe. She does a lot of research on it. She brings out major points. She even written books about her further research and study after she studied Oahspe, using like things of today, like in our time, because that was in 1881. Now we in the 2000s, right? So she wrote all this using current day examples of things, proving the points that were given back then that science really don't want to touch, right? If they don't want to touch it, we can test it and prove it here in the spirit, right? So she has done a great work. She gave us authorization to read it out loud. So we read the first 15 pages. Well, we stopped on page 15. Um, so I'll share everything I said. This picture of Lulu Hurst, these clips from split clips. Lovecraft Country. I shared them before. Split I've never shared. But just some of the things that we talked about. The CIA document. Yes, the CIA document. 2, 3. These 3 things, the CIA document plus I'm putting them all in a playlist. If I didn't do it already, I don't remember, but it's like 4 or 5 videos where we were reading through this page by page before we actually started reading My Big Toe. So I'll share the playlist for that if you want to go back. If you don't want to read through the document yourself, you can actually watch the video and listen to me read it out loud, and let's talk about it while we're going through it. The clips from Split about the multiple personalities and the altars and Lovecraft Country when he was the cursing and stuff, the spirit possessing, all that. So I share that with y'all. This page 2. Write this over here. I should put my page number. All right, beautiful people. And I think that is it for today. Let me see, let me double check before I call Bella down here. All right, he being funny. Tabitha Pistachio, right? Okay, let me go back up. Okay. Mr. Glass, I know, spooky. I don't like horror movies, even at my age, 56. I don't either, but some of them that I actually watch, like I stay away from things like Saw and stuff like that. And Freddie and Jason, I ain't got time for their shenanigans. I'm so glad that this last, they doing this last, was it, um, the Jason movie. They got the it's out in the theaters or about to start or something. I just stay away from theaters when those type of movies are being played, as because so all kinds of discarnate entities roundabout, and I ain't just I ain't playing with none of yous. She said, I'm now wondering about our elderly being diagnosed with Alzheimer's, dementia, and other things they come up with to prevent admitting they are spirits. Like, listen, they are like some of the things that my father was dealing with. They were saying like early onset Alzheimer's, different things like that. And me actually learning a little bit more about the spiritual realm, I was like, man, I'm like, Dad has been putting in a sunken place. And like they doing all kinds of tests on my dad and couldn't figure out what was wrong with him. And I'm like, me and my sister was talking, I was like, this is more spiritual than anything. And I would say that because just thinking about my dad's life and some of the things that my dad really opened himself up to be put in that place by some of his own actions. When the doctors say run all this test, they said we just don't understand why that stuff is happening. When I say they ran every kind of test on my dad, they ran every kind of test on my dad. And it's just like, well, we just gonna chalk it up to like dementia, Alzheimer's, and all this. I'm like, and you know, my sister, she's a RN, a registered nurse, and she started studying some of this. And I was like, man, yo, something. But you know, we didn't fully figure it out. before he passed, and things happen. But now that we're getting more knowledgeable and we're learning and growing spiritually, a lot of these things we can prevent, especially we see our family members possessed or oppressed or obsessed with things spiritually. We are better prepared to help to deliver them while the medical realm is still developing in these things, and they still just kind of want to just put people away or use medication to calm them down and just push them off to the side. We don't want to deal with that, neither do we know how at this point. And they completely just don't even want to look at the spiritual portion of it, and that this could be the underlying foundation. And we really need to look at this for true deliverance and helping people to regain their own selves back and getting them free of other spirits who have begun to cling on to them, right? So yeah. We have to question everything, Tabitha. Are you welcome, Kendrick? Yes, all you all enjoy your day. Tabitha said the 2 hours was worth it. So have a great Sunday, family. Right? I know some of us we used to sit in church for 4 and 5 hours. At least I know I was for a period of time, and didn't think nothing about it, ain't complaining nothing. But it seemed like this time just flies by. I was like, man, we've been here over 2 hours. Don't even seem like it, right? Okay. You're welcome, and love y'all too. All right, y'all. Yeah, Lovecraft Country. Gotta watch it. Yeah, my mom had dementia. She got really mean. Yeah. Yeah. Like some of these things, like as we read through here and start getting into this, it's like, man, why couldn't we have come across this information before certain loved ones passed away from some of these things? Because as we begin to read through this, especially if you've experienced this in your life or with family members, especially if you became their primary caretakers, you can begin to pinpoint these things, and you can see, and you can like test some of these things to help them get free, right? This is absolutely amazing reference. It really is. All right, y'all. So with that being said, let me call Tootie baby. Bella! Come on, girl. All right, y'all. Thank y'all for hanging out. Angela, I just saw, she said, I wonder if that applies to grief. I'm sorry. Sometimes I don't be looking over here on Facebook, but I'm almost certain that I know what you're talking about. Grief is also a door opener to discarnate entities or um, spirits that are just waiting for the opportunity. Like over, like, well, we go through a grieving period when people pass, and we grieve different things. Not talking about the natural process of grief, right? That's not when you get like overtaken or get overshadowing by opportunistic spirits that are hanging around. It's when that grief process is drawn out and it goes into a unhealthy thing where now you're becoming depressed and you can no longer function. You haven't found, Bella, wait a minute. You haven't found a way to healthily let this go or to heal from this. That's when grief, and it's going to get into that too, right? So, but yeah, I know. So, ready? All right, she ready to end it.
Mom,
Yes, Tootie.
the boys stole my stuff away. And my Barbie suitcase.
Was it broken?
No.
Well, I'll talk to them about that in a minute. Who's vacuuming? Elijah. Okay, well, we'll go up there. All right, Tickler said, hey, girl. Hey, beautiful Bella. Set apart said, hey, Bella. Everybody saying hey, too.
Hey.
Hey. All right, y'all. I love y'all. I see y'all back here tomorrow morning. Remember, 7:15 in the morning, y'all. Early. Right? I'll make sure I go to bed early. Make sure I get up on time. Right? So I can make my time. 7:15 is when we will end. If you come at 7:15, you're gonna see we're gonna be ending the video. So this time, well, tomorrow, starting at 7:15, Monday through Friday, it'll be 6:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Weekends will stay the same at 7:30. Backup channel, I try to time it, get it posted for the live premiere at 12 noon. Sometime YouTube moves a little slow, or sometimes it go a little fast and I upload a little early, sometime late, but it's always there. All right, y'all. So with that being said, beautiful people, I love y'all. I'll see y'all back here tomorrow morning, bright and early, 6:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I love y'all. Peace. Yes, this is great information, global purpose. Love y'all. Thank you.
Mom, which one did my name?